The desperation of a failing nation. This is the unspoken why. Welcome back to the unspoken why. So Trump has decided to start 2026 off, the brand new year. He has decided to start off America's karmatic energy for this year by colonizing an entire country, the country of Venezuela, who just happens to be the biggest oil reserve country in the world, especially producing heavy crude oil, which America, we do not produce. We produce in mass light crude oil, but are much in need of heavy crude oil, which Venezuela has. This is how down bad we are, guys. This is how down bad we are for real. Did you know that right now the U.S. national debt has surpassed $38 trillion, with projections suggesting that it could hit $39 trillion by March 2026 and even reach over $40 trillion by late 2026. So, yes, America is extremely desperate, desperate enough to kidnap a sitting president of a foreign nation, illegally kidnap him, and colonize the country, take it over, and say, we are going to run this country now. That's the desperation. Now, when I heard this, so many things were coming to my mind, so many thoughts. And then somebody sent me this text. And it was a powerful, like, I don't know, like an essay kind of. And I decided this is what I need to read to you guys. This right here really breaks down exactly what's happening right now. It gives you a little bit of past history and leads you right into the present. So I'm going to read that text and I'm going to explain it and I'm going to talk about it. And we're going to break it down today. Yeah, we're going there, guys. Get your drinks, whatever you drink, your beer, your tea, your wine, because we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down, okay? Before we get started, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more so you never miss another Unspoken Why video. The real reason the U.S. is invading Venezuela goes back to a deal Henry Kissinger made with Saudi Arabia in 1974. And I'm going to explain why this is actually about survival of the US dollar itself. Not drugs, not terrorism, definitely not democracy. This is about the petrodollar system that has kept America the dominant economic power for over 50 years. And Venezuela had threatened to end it. Here's what really just happened. Venezuela has 303 billion barrels of proven oil reserves, the largest on earth, more than Saudi Arabia, 20% of the entire world's oil. But here's the part that matters. Venezuela was actively selling that oil in Chinese yuan, not dollars. In 2018, Venezuela announced it would free itself from the dollar. They started accepting yuan, euros, rubles, anything but dollars for oil. They were petitioning to join BRICS. They were building direct payment channels with China that bypassed SWIFT entirely. And they were sitting on enough oil to fund de-dollarization for decades. But why does this matter? Because the entire American financial system is built on one thing, the petrodollar. In 1974, Henry Kissinger made a deal with Saudi Arabia. All oil sold globally must be priced in US dollars. In exchange, America provides military protection. And this single agreement created artificial demand for dollars worldwide. Every country on earth needs dollars now to buy oil. This lets America print unlimited money while other countries work for it. It funds our military. It funds our social welfare. It funds the deficit spending. The petrodollar is more important to U.S. hegemony than aircraft carriers. And there's a pattern of what happens to leaders who challenge it. In the year 2000, Saddam Hussein announces Iraq will sell oil in euros instead of dollars. In 2003, he was invaded. Regime was changed. Iraq's oil immediately switched back to dollars. Saddam was lynched. Okay, the WMBDs were never found because they never existed. Those are the weapons of mass destruction that they allege that didn't exist. In 2009, Gaddafi proposes a gold-backed African currency called the, quote, gold dinar for oil trade. Hillary Clinton's own leaked emails confirmed this was the primary reason for intervention. Her email quote read, "This goal was intended to establish a Pan-African currency based on the Libyan gold dinar." End quote. 2011, NATO bombs Libya. Gaddafi was sodomized and murdered. Libya now has open slave markets. And Clinton said, quote, "We came, we saw, he died," while she laughed on camera. The gold dinar died with him. And now Maduro, with 5 times more oil than Saddam and Gaddafi combined, actively selling in yuan, building payment systems outside dollar control, petitioning to join BRICS, partnered with China, Russia, and Iran, the 3 countries leading global de-dollarization. This isn't a coincidence. Challenge the petrodollar, get regime changed. Every single time. Stephen Miller, U.S. Homeland Security Advisor, literally said it out loud 2 weeks ago. He said, quote, "American sweat, ingenuity, and toil created the oil industry in Venezuela. Its tyrannical expropriation was the largest recorded theft of American wealth and property," end quote. So he's not hiding it. They're claiming that Venezuelan oil belongs to America because U.S. companies developed it 100 years ago, meaning helped develop the manufacturing for it. But by this logic, every nationalized resource in history was, quote, theft, right? But here's the deeper problem. The petrodollar is already dying. Russia sells oil in rubles and yuan since Ukraine. Saudi Arabia is openly discussing yuan settlements. Iran has been trading in non-dollar currencies for years, which is why they're probably next on Trump's list. Well, not probably, they are. China built CIPS, their own alternative to SWIFT, with 4,800 banks in 185 countries. BRICS is actively building payment systems that bypass the dollar entirely. The Enbridge project lets central banks settle trades instantly in local currencies. So Venezuela joining BRICS with 303 billion barrels of oil would accelerate this exponentially. That's what this invasion is really about. Not stopping drugs. Venezuela accounts actually for less than 1% of U.S. cocaine. Not terrorism. There's actually zero evidence of Maduro running a, quote, terror organization. Not to be confused with him being a dictator, and not a good president. But there's no evidence of him running a, quote, terror organization. And of course, it's not democracy. It's never democracy. They just lie about that. The U.S. supports Saudi Arabia. Remember, they have 0 elections and they're a monarchy. Okay, so it's never about democracy. This is about maintaining a 50-year-old agreement that lets America print money while the world works for it. And the consequences are terrifying. Russia, China, and Iran are already denouncing this as armed aggression. China is Venezuela's biggest oil customer. Bet you didn't know that. And now they're losing billions. That was strategic as well. BRICS nations are watching a country get invaded for trading outside the dollar. Every nation considering de-dollarization just got the message. Challenge the dollar and we will bomb you. But here's the problem. That message actually might accelerate de-dollarization, not stop it. Because now every country in the global south knows what happens if you threaten dollar hegemony. And they're realizing the only protection is to actually move faster. The timing is insane too. January 3rd, 2026, Venezuela invaded, Maduro captured. January 3rd, 1990, Panama invaded, Noriega captured. 36 years apart, almost to the day. Same playbook, same, quote, drug trafficking excuse, same real reason, control of strategic resources and trade routes. History doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Now what happens next? Trump's press conference at Mar-a-Lago sets the narrative. U.S. oil companies are already lined up. Politico reported they've been approached about, quote, returning to Venezuela, and the opposition will be installed. Oil will flow in dollars again. But according to Trump, no opposition will be installed right now. We are going to run the country. We've colonized Venezuela, basically. So what happens now to Venezuela? They become another Iraq, another Libya. But here's what nobody's asking. What happens when you can no longer bomb your way to dollar dominance? When China has enough economic leverage to retaliate? When BRICS controls 40% of global GDP and says, no more dollars, we're good? when the world realizes the petrodollar is maintained by violence. America just showed its hand. The question is whether the rest of the world folds or calls the bluff. Because this invasion is an admission that the dollar can no longer compete on its own merits. When you have to bomb countries to keep them using your currency, the currency is already dying. Venezuela isn't the beginning, it's the desperate end. So, guys, I definitely want to know what you guys think about that. I'm going to get into my breakdown, but whoo, honey, when I got this message, I was like, yes, 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 with the history, with the information, with the good writing. It was phenomenal. So first I want to address what Stephen Miller said, so the U.S. Homeland Security Advisor. So when he said 2 weeks ago, quote, American sweat, ingenuity, and toil created the oil industry in Venezuela. Its tyrannical expropriation was the largest recorded theft of American wealth and property. What he's saying is that, hey, we helped build your oil industry, and when you kicked us out and nationalized your oil so that you guys can make all the money and we don't make all your money, then you got on our bad side, basically. That's our money, that's our oil, and that's a quintessential white supremacist mindset. Basically, once we help you, we own you for life. Okay, but they don't operate like this with each other, only with people of color. They don't ever operate like this with each other. It's only with all of us that they operate like this with, Latin America, Africans, Asians, not with each other. Okay. So once they do anything for anybody not white, now they own it. They own you. They own it. They helped you. Even though it's your oil, it's their oil in Venezuela. But because they helped them manufacture it and create their little industry and everything, now it's their oil. Right? That's a white supremacist mindset. And also, I want to get this out the way, there are some people who are happy that international law was broken and Venezuela was basically colonized because of their own personal feelings about Maduro, forgetting that no country ever gets better after America kidnaps your president and takes over your resources, especially when the president who does it calls your countries asshole countries. Okay, every country that America gets involved in is worse than before. They're always worse after America gets involved. Okay, and when they kick us out, they get better, like Saudi Arabia. Once they gained full control of their oil, that's when they became rich. That's when they became the Saudis that we know. When they were dealing, with the Kissinger deal and they were dealing with us and we were owning part of their stuff, they weren't as wealthy as they were now because we were taking a huge cut, which is what we always do. Also, from The Atlantic, in a telephone interview on January 4th, President Trump issued a not-so-veiled threat against the new Venezuelan leader, Delcy Rodriguez, the vice president, saying that, quote, if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, probably bigger than Maduro. So there you go. How do you guys feel about that? So again, he's not trying to allow democracy in this country, which they have been operating under a democracy, but he doesn't want that. He wants whoever's in charge to do exactly what he says, be his puppet. And if they're not going to bend over backwards and take that, then he's going to come collect you too or off you. That's basically what he's saying. But the ugly truth here, guys, is that we're in the belly of the beast. And if the beast does not eat, then we die, right? Trump is making sure that we don't die because the dollar is dying. Right? And because the world is tired of being bullied by America, rightfully so, 100% rightfully so. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the CEO of JP Morgan and Chase, Jamie Dimon, just warned that the U.S. is, quote, going broke slowly due to its mounting national debt and unsustainable fiscal trajectory. Basically our unlimited budget for our military. Okay, our military has an unlimited budget. Nobody ever knows how much we're funding our military. It's never released. Yeah, no one ever knows those numbers. It's unknown to the public because it's none of our business, because we're peasants to the government. Basically, they don't it's not for us to know, right? But anyways, everyone rich, wealthy, and invested has been saved by Trump. Trump did this for them. Trump is trying to make sure that the upper class wealthy, rich Americans, especially those who are invested, do not lose their money because everybody is invested in the dollar. Also, worldwide, people are invested in our stock market from all different countries, all different nations, all different kinds of people are involved with the American dollar. So if the dollar goes down, a lot of countries go down. Okay. So basically, he's strong arming this whole situation to try and gain power, not just for America, but also because Europe's been taking L's. Europe has been taking mass L's. European countries have lost influence in the world with the rise of China. Their birth rates are in a deficit, and they're not birthing enough to recreate their populations. Many Europeans are also atheists now, which is why the threat of the rituals of Muslims offend them so much because they don't have any rituals. They're atheists. And a lot of them that say they're Christians, they're really not, just like in America. So white supremacy has been taking L's. And, America, Trump is like, hey, we're going to go out. I mean, he does not care about the karma of the United States of America. He's an old man. He could die at any moment. He really doesn't care what happens to this country. He just doesn't want the dollar and all these wealthy people to lose their money on his dime. Okay, that's the truth. And you want to know why people like the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, are agreeing with this? It's because he wishes he could do this to Traore, right? Because he can't do this to Traore, the president of Burkina Faso, because France is weak. And they've already tried to take him out like 20 times and can't do it. Also, again, Venezuela is friends with China and Russia. This hurts China and Russia because Russia was actually friends with Maduro. Not Russia. Putin was friends with Maduro. And hey, he was supposed to be looking out for him and he didn't. He got taken by America, by Delta forces, right? So that's a L for Russia. And China was buying billions of dollars in oil from Venezuela. And now they may not be able to buy as much, or they might get, or the bag might get run up. You see what I'm saying? Trump might up the money. It's like, hey, you got to pay more now. And you definitely got to pay in dollar. So that's going to hurt them because they were paying in yuan, which was better for them because that's their currency. So France and other leaders, that are really sick because they're applauding kidnapping and they're applauding kidnapping of a sitting president as if here's the hypocrisy. If this were any other president in a European nation, this would be completely unacceptable, including Ukraine. Like if Putin kidnapped Ukrainian president Zelensky, people would be pissed, right? Like that's the disrespect they have for developing countries. It's really disgusting. They just think like these people don't matter. They don't matter to them. It's like, oh, they're not a real country. They're not a civilized first world country. We can go kidnap their president. Like if this happened to Trump, granted 70% of the population absolutely is waiting for him to meet his maker. Obviously, we're all we're all waiting for him to meet whoever his maker is. Okay, we really don't know, but like whoever his maker is, we're not against it, right? But if this happened to him, we would be pissed because now we know that we're being controlled and run by some other country. We don't have freedom anymore. We don't have democracy anymore. We don't have power anymore, and we would be pissed. Right? Because now think about what they have to deal with in Venezuela. They don't even know who's really in charge, when the U.S. Army or military will be back because allegedly they left. They've got different factions over there that can now pop up. This can become like another Haiti situation, another Libya situation, an Iraq situation. It could be really messy, really bloody. Basically, now chaos can ensue because nobody is in charge really. Okay, the vice president, she's in charge in quotes, but she's not Maduro. She's not really in charge. Things can get out of control really quick now. And that's because he destabilized their country for his own selfish gain. He chose to do this for his own selfish gain. Okay, not really because he cares about any American. It's more so his own money, his own kids, his own family, and other rich people, other rich friends of his, and just everybody wealthy that's invested in America. That's really why he did this. And I thought about something. I think that the Trump administration had actually been thinking about doing this for a while to Venezuela. And that's why they could have, I think it's possible, listen, just follow me. I think it's possible that He supercharged ICE, okay, to remove any Hispanics, especially the Venezuelans that might retaliate once he did this because he was already thinking about kidnapping Maduro. Okay, this is the art of war, guys. This is how it's done. Like they're always thinking 10 steps ahead. So let me go back to the oil real quick. So we produce light crude oil and we produce a lot of it. And Venezuela produces heavy crude oil. And we're in dire need of heavy oil, not light oil, to keep our economy going. And up until now, we've been importing it from other countries. And all the other countries we've been importing it from outside of Venezuela, we couldn't do this to, like Canada. We could never do this to Canada. So, yeah, Venezuela was the perfect hit because, again, friends with Russia, friends with China, friends with Iran, now friends with none of these people, right? Can't, and the oil that they're going to sell is going to be in the dollar and it's going to be more expensive, right? And then having more control over the region as well. Also, Russia has some of the largest heavy crude oil reserves in the world as well, but he wasn't going to be able to do this to them either, okay? You can't even run up on Russia like that. Even if they are weak, Russians are not ever really weak. We all know that. Nobody can stand a Russian winter. Only they can. That's why they won against Hitler. When they came into Russia during winter time, it was over for the Germans. Only Russians can survive their weather. I'm telling you. So what this does is by stealing Venezuelan oil and now selling it under an American umbrella, what this does is it lessens Russian influence. Okay, because they were selling their heavy crude oil that Venezuela also has to other countries. And that was keeping them fighting this war with Ukraine. But now, if these other countries can buy it from America, maybe they'll cheapen the price so they don't buy from Russia, just so Russia loses more money. So maybe they don't have the money to keep fighting the war with Ukraine. So it's kind of like a back-ended way, okay, to get Russia to chill and maybe give up this fight, right? But I don't know if you guys know this, but the reason why Russia really attacked Ukraine for real is because the agreement that Russia had with America is, we're not going to have any problems as long as you don't let our neighbors around us, former Soviet members, join NATO. And then America honored that for a while and then started breaking that, right? And talking to Ukraine and other countries. And, once Ukraine was talking about they wanted to join NATO, Russia was basically like, hell no. Because basically, America is trying to box in their enemies, which is Russia and China, right? Get all the friends and allies that they can so that they can have all their enemies boxed in, right? And that hasn't been working well with China because they got enough money and they got enough power to kind of bulldoze their situation with the Beltline Initiative and things like that. But with Russia, it was working more, and that's when they just popped off and said, yeah, we're not going to do this. We're not going to play this game. Like, you broke the rules. You're not honoring your contract with us, basically. And that's the reason why they're really over there right now. Russia's playing dirty for sure. They're not the good guys. I mean, none of us are the good guys, and that's the truth. Nobody's good here. Everybody's got dirt. Every country has got dirt, but America's dirt is, I think, the one that is least well known and hides behind this fake democracy veneer. Like, we're coming to help you and save you, which is not true. America comes to colonize and control and steal resources. It's never really to help and do any of that. Like, that's just not how we operate. And it's best for people to really start realizing the truth. And if you're denying it, you're just wasting your time. You don't even know where you live, and that's dangerous. You should know where you live, and you should know who you're living with. So again, this whole attack on Venezuela, it's to weaken the China-Russia-Iran relationship, okay? Now, Trump also hinted that he would also be coming for other countries in Latin America, definitely Cuba. They've always wanted to invade Cuba. They hate that Cuba was the one that got away. They hate it so much. And remember, Cuba held our sister down, Tupac's aunt, Asada Shakur, and she escaped and she stayed there for a long time. And recently she died. She passed away, natural causes. So God bless her. Like, she lived a good life in Cuba, and they hate that. They never ever forgot that they were holding Black American freedom fighters that ran away. They hate that so much. So they definitely want to come for Cuba. And Greenland as well. Trump recently said, quote, we do need Greenland. Absolutely. So all these things that he said about, oh, Canada can become a 51st state and we can take Greenland, and all these things he was saying that everybody took as a joke are now looking like they can absolutely become a reality because he kidnapped a sitting president of a foreign nation. And everybody really should be on alert now because this is not a game anymore. This is real. Also, being in charge of the world's largest oil reserves, Trump has more control over all these countries that are buying oil just in general. Now he has more sway and more influence over all these countries, including the European nations that he feels that have let him down and have fallen and let all these immigrants in and blah, 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 right? So now he's got more control over everybody, basically, in an indirect way. So this is a last-ditch power move from a failing nation and a failing president, one that's the most hated and most disgraced, I think, on record in the modern era, trying to save itself from a destined biblical doom. Okay, America still has biblical karma from enslaving our ancestors for 250 plus years. That's a fact. That's a fact. America still has biblical karma from enslaving our ancestors for 250 plus years. And all America has done is pile on more karma with all the wars they have gone into for illegitimate means to steal resources from people. So some of the Venezuelans, they're happy about this. And I can see if you're not an intelligent, critical thinking person, how on the surface you can be happy about this dancing in the streets because you don't really understand that now you have no more freedom, right? Your country's not yours anymore. And it doesn't matter how much you hate someone. It doesn't matter how much you hate your president. He's your president from your country, of your nation, and he was elected. And anybody from a foreign nation kidnapping that person, violating international law, that's never a good sign. And I think it's a lack of educational awareness for people that are happy, not understanding that every single time America has done something like this, the countries have gone into dire circumstances where people are almost starving, lots of death, lots of assaults, essays, lots of chaos, lots of insanity. Like in Haiti, when they tried to destabilize them not too long ago. I think they actually did. I mean, they knock off the president? They killed them or something like that. And they said it was the Colombians, but they were literally wearing U.S. Army gear, like insane. Somebody was like, look at those U.S. Army boots. Please, this ain't Colombians. Exactly. And if it was, they paid them. Let's be honest. So, yeah, this is really nothing to be happy about. So I hope that they wake up out of this and fight for their country. I think Americans, we need to realize that the low gas prices that I've already seen, they've hit like $2.50 in Florida. Listen, America is making us complicit in a colonization. America is making us complicit in this colonization of Venezuela with this low gas. And but we can't really listen. We got to drive. We got to drive to work. We got to drive to the store. We got to drive to see our friends. We got to drive. I mean, we got to drive. I'm not telling you to not drive, but just be aware that, by lowering the gas prices almost immediately, I feel like the gas prices have fallen. It's already like $2.50. It's already like $2.50 in Florida. But it's definitely their way of making us complicit in this theft of resources, in a theft of a whole country. And that definitely doesn't make me feel good. And it shouldn't make you feel good as well. But that's all I got for you guys, man. This is crazy times, and it's just going to get crazier. So buckle up. And, the way you can fight back, if you really want to fight back, is to stop spending your money. Stop feeding this beast system. Because really, this system's only working for the rich and the people who are invested in the market. If you're not invested in the market and you're not wealthy or well off, this system, you're a peasant in America, right? They don't really care about you. He did this to save the system, to save the wealthy, to save the people who are invested, and to keep the dollar from declining even further. Even though, like the text said, it still might, because now people might be really appalled and pissed, like, oh, they really got a lot of nerve to do something like this. You know what? Now I'm really not going to use the dollar. Because sometimes what you think you're doing is going to create one reaction, it actually creates another reaction, right? So let me know what you guys think below in the comments. I definitely can't wait to read them. And remember to ask why.